Welcome back to Women of Worth, the podcast that empowers women to navigate life's challenges with confidence and resilience. Today, we're diving into a topic that so many women struggle with: managing anxiety in a fast-paced world. If you've ever felt overwhelmed by endless to-do lists, career demands, social expectations, or the constant pressure to keep up, you're not alone. Anxiety thrives in a world that never slows down. But what if, instead of letting anxiety control you, you could learn to manage it in a way that brings peace, clarity, and strength? In this episode, we'll uncover why women experience anxiety differently, share powerful scientific insights, and explore fresh, practical strategies to help you reclaim control. From digital detoxing to sensory resets and redefining self-care, we're giving you real tools you can use today. So take a deep breath, grab your favorite drink, and let's embark on a journey toward a calmer, more centered life. And before we get started, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and hit that notification bell so you never miss an empowering episode. We'd love to hear from you in the comments. What's your biggest struggle when it comes to managing anxiety? Let's start the conversation. Let's take control of our mental well-being, one mindful step at a time.
Okay, let's be real for a sec. It feels like there's this constant pressure to be on all the time, right?
Absolutely.
And for women, it feels even more intense.
Yeah.
We're expected to, excel in our careers, manage the house, nurture all the relationships, and still somehow find time for self-care.
Yeah.
It's no wonder that so many of us are struggling with anxiety these days.
That's true.
So today we're going to do a deep dive into some really fascinating research, real life stories too, to try to understand why women experience anxiety differently, and maybe discover some practical strategies to not just manage that anxiety, but to actually transform it.
That's great.
From like a source of fear into a source of fuel.
Absolutely.
So what's really interesting to me is while anxiety is it's a universal experience, the sources you pull together, they highlight some very specific factors that contribute to women's anxiety.
That's right. And they often go beyond the typical stressors.
Yes. For example, we're constantly told that we should be expert multitaskers, effortlessly juggling a million things at once. But and multitasking might seem like, a badge of honor in a way.
Mm.
The research from psychological science actually shows that it's really detrimental to our well-being.
Yes, absolutely. In fact, studies have shown that chronic multitasking reduces our productivity, increases the number of errors we make, and significantly elevates those stress levels, which obviously leads to more anxiety.
It's like when you try to run a bunch of different apps on your phone all at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually the phone crashes.
Yeah, exactly. Our brains really aren't wired to handle that level of constant switching and stimulation.
Mm.
And what's even more concerning is that this multitasking myth, it's often presented as this feminine ideal.
You're right.
The expectation that women should be able to just seamlessly manage everything, without breaking a sweat.
Right. And then on top of that, there's this whole societal pressure to have it all.
Yes.
The perfect career, picture perfect family, the flawless social life.
Yeah.
It's an impossible standard, and it just sets us up for feeling inadequate.
Yes, absolutely. It is an impossible standard. And that pressure to constantly strive for perfection, it can be incredibly anxiety-provoking. We see this in Mira's story.
Oh, tell me about her.
She is a corporate professional and a mom.
Okay.
And she decided to implement a single tasking rule.
Interesting.
So instead of trying to do everything at once, she just started dedicating very specific blocks of time to work, to family, and to herself.
So it sounds pretty simple. Was it a big shift for her?
It was a big shift, but the results were significant.
Wow.
By reducing the amount of mental juggling that she was doing, she was able to significantly decrease her anxiety levels.
That's incredible.
It is. And what this really highlights is that even small changes to our daily habits can have a profound impact on our mental well-being.
You know, and it's not just about changing how we work, but also, I think, learning to say no to things.
Yes. Boundaries.
Yeah, things that drain our energy, right?
Absolutely.
Add to our stress. Like we read about Leanne. She realized she was constantly saying yes to every single social invitation, work event, volunteer opportunity.
Oh, yeah.
Out of a sense of obligation.
Out of obligation. It's a classic example of how a lack of boundaries can truly contribute to anxiety. We feel pressured to please everyone, be everything to everyone.
Right.
And it leaves us feeling just depleted and overwhelmed.
And it's so easy to fall into that trap, I think, especially as women. We're kind of conditioned to be the caregivers.
Yeah.
The people please, put everyone else's needs before our own.
Always putting others first. It can be so damaging to our mental health. Learning to say no without guilt, to prioritize our own well-being, that is essential for managing anxiety.
But there's another layer here that we can't ignore, right?
What's that?
The impact of hormones on women's anxiety.
Right?
The research from Harvard Medical School, I thought that was really interesting, how it dives into how fluctuating estrogen and progesterone levels throughout our cycles, pregnancies, even menopause, can significantly affect our mood and anxiety levels.
This is a crucial piece of the puzzle. It explains why women often experience anxiety differently than men. These hormonal shifts, they create this roller coaster of emotions and make us more susceptible to feeling anxious.
At certain times.
At certain times of the month or even during different stages of life.
Suddenly feeling, you know, on edge or overwhelmed for seemingly no reason.
It makes sense to feel that way. You're definitely not alone in that. It's something that so many women experience. But often, we feel hesitant to talk about it. Understanding these hormonal patterns can be incredibly empowering, though.
I agree.
It allows us to anticipate potential triggers, adjust our expectations, and practice self-care strategies that support us through those fluctuations.
Yeah, like Rachel. She started keeping a mood journal.
That's great.
And she noticed that her anxiety would spike in the week leading up to her period. Once she recognized that pattern, she was able to adjust her schedule and prioritize self-care activities during that time, to kind of help mitigate those intense feelings.
Exactly. It's about taking back control, becoming proactive rather than reactive. So we've explored some of the reasons why women experience anxiety differently, but now let's dive into some practical strategies for managing those feelings in a way that's effective and empowering.
Right, because while understanding the root causes is important, we also need tools and techniques to navigate those anxious moments.
Yeah, exactly. And the good news is that there are a lot of incredibly effective strategies out there, ones that don't require a total life overhaul or intense therapy sessions.
I love that.
Yeah.
So what are some of the unique approaches that really stood out to you in the sources? What really caught your attention as potentially helpful for our listeners?
One that I found particularly fascinating is the 3-minute pause.
Okay.
It's quick, but it's a powerful technique. It's based on the principles of cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT. It's essentially a way to interrupt those spiraling thought patterns that often accompany anxiety and just create a moment of calm amidst all the chaos.
Okay, walk us through it. How does it work?
It's surprisingly simple. First, you focus on slowing down your breathing. Take a few deep, conscious breaths, inhaling slowly through your nose and exhaling slowly through your mouth. Then acknowledge the emotions that you're feeling in that moment. Don't judge them. Don't try to push them away. Just simply notice them. And finally, gently shift your focus to something else, something positive or calming. Maybe it's a happy memory, a beautiful image, or a simple affirmation.
So it's like hitting the pause button on your anxiety.
Yes.
And giving your mind a chance to reset.
Exactly. And the beauty of this technique is that it can be done anywhere, anytime. You don't need any special equipment or a quiet space.
I can see how that would be so helpful in those moments when you feel anxiety starting to creep in, like before a big presentation or a difficult conversation.
We see this in Sophie's story. She's a business owner.
Okay.
She used this technique before important meetings.
Okay.
And she found that taking those 3 minutes to breathe, acknowledge her feelings, and just refocus her attention helped her stay calm and collected, even in high-pressure situations.
It's a great reminder that we have more control over our anxiety than we often realize. We don't have to be at its mercy.
We have the power to choose how we respond.
Right.
And even small intentional actions can make a big difference.
So we've talked about the importance of single tasking, setting boundaries, understanding our hormonal cycles, and using techniques like the 3-minute pause. But there's another piece of the puzzle that's becoming increasingly relevant in today's world.
What's that?
Our relationship with technology.
Yes, the ever-present digital landscape. It's a double-edged sword, isn't it?
Yeah.
Technology can be incredibly useful in connecting, but it can also be a major source of anxiety.
Because let's be honest, how many of us start our day by scrolling through social media and then we end our day doing the exact same thing?
You're telling me it has become almost an unconscious habit.
Yes.
But the research is clear. Constant exposure to the digital world, especially social media, can fuel comparison, anxiety, information overload, and a sense of FOMO, fear of missing out. And all of that contributes to elevated stress and anxiety levels.
It's like our brains are constantly being bombarded with information and stimulation, leaving us feeling wired and exhausted.
Yeah, and that's where the concept of digital minimalism comes in.
Okay, so what exactly is digital minimalism and how can it help us manage anxiety?
Digital minimalism is a philosophy that encourages us to be more intentional about our relationship with technology. It's about consciously choosing how and when we engage with our devices, rather than just letting them control us. The goal is to create space in our lives for things that truly matter, our relationships, our passions, our well-being.
So it's not about becoming like a tech hermit and swearing off all technology.
Right.
It's about finding a balance that works for you.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that technology is a tool, and like any tool, it can be used for good or for ill.
So what are some practical ways we can start incorporating digital minimalism into our lives?
Sure.
Because the sources mentioned some interesting ideas.
One that I found particularly helpful is designating tech-free zones in your home.
Oh, like the bedroom.
Yeah, the bedroom.
Or the dining room table.
The dining room table, exactly.
Okay.
These are spaces where you consciously choose to disconnect from your devices. You can also try setting specific time limits for social media use, or using apps that block distracting websites during work hours.
I've also heard of people putting their phones in grayscale mode to make them less visually stimulating.
That's a great strategy. It reduces the dopamine hit that we get from those bright colors and notifications, making our phones less addictive.
And then the sources also talked about scheduling, digital detox days.
Yes.
Taking like a whole day each week to completely unplug.
Yeah, and I know it sounds daunting, but the benefits are incredible.
Really?
It gives your brain a chance to rest and reset, and it allows you to reconnect with yourself and the world around you in a deeper way.
Yep. There was a story in one of the sources about Hannah who deleted all social media apps from her phone for a month.
Wow.
And she experienced a significant reduction in her anxiety levels.
It's amazing what a little break can do.
Yeah. It's a powerful reminder of how much our digital habits can impact our mental well-being.
Absolutely.
And it's encouraging to know that even short breaks from technology can have a positive impact.
So we've paused our racing thoughts with a 3-minute pause.
Right.
And we've taken a step back from the digital world. What's next in our arsenal of anxiety-busting strategies?
Well, since anxiety often stems from feeling disconnected from ourselves and the present moment, one powerful technique involves engaging our senses to ground ourselves. We call this the sensory reset.
Ooh, that sounds intriguing. Tell me more.
So think about it. How often are you truly present in your body, experiencing the world through your senses?
That's a good question.
We're often so caught up in our thoughts, worries, to-do lists.
That we miss out on the richness of the present moment. The sensory reset is all about bringing our attention back to our bodies.
Okay.
And reconnecting with the world around us through our 5 senses.
I love that. It sounds like a simple yet powerful way to interrupt those anxious thought patterns and create a sense of calm.
It really is. And it's something you can practice anywhere, anytime.
So walk us through it. What are some specific things we can do to engage our senses?
Okay, let's start with sight. Find something visually appealing to focus on. A beautiful picture, a houseplant, the view outside your window. Really take it in. Notice the colors, the shapes, the textures.
Okay, and what about sound?
Close your eyes and listen to the sounds around you.
Okay.
It could be the chirping of birds, rustling of leaves, the gentle hum of your refrigerator, whatever it is. Just focus on the sound, allowing it to wash over you.
Now for touch. What's something comforting that we can hold?
Maybe a soft blanket, a smooth stone, or your favorite mug. Just notice the texture, the temperature, the feeling of it in your hand.
And what about smell? I know certain scents can be incredibly calming.
Absolutely. Lavender, chamomile, peppermint.
Oh, yes.
These are all known for their relaxing properties. You can use essential oils, light a scented candle, or even just enjoy the smell of freshly brewed coffee or a bouquet of flowers.
And finally, taste.
Yeah.
What's something we can savor to engage our taste buds?
Take a small bite of dark chocolate, sip some herbal tea, enjoy a piece of fresh fruit.
Okay.
Pay attention to the flavors, the textures, the sensations as you savor each bite.
This is such a beautiful exercise.
It is, right?
It's amazing how simply shifting our attention to our senses can create like such a sense of calm and grounding.
Yeah, it's a reminder that we have so much to appreciate in the present moment if we just take the time to notice.
The sources mentioned Ella. She's a university student who used peppermint oil during stressful exams
Oh, interesting.
to help her feel grounded.
It's amazing how such a simple scent can have such a powerful impact.
So we've talked about pausing our thoughts, taking a break from technology, and engaging our senses. But what about setting ourselves up for success from the moment we wake up?
Yes, that's where the importance of creating an anxiety-resistant morning routine comes in.
Because how we start our day
Oh.
can really set the tone for everything that follows.
It's true.
Instead of waking up and immediately reaching for our phones, which, let's be honest, often leads to like a spiral of stress and anxiety.
Oh, yes.
What are some healthier alternatives?
Well, starting your day with some gentle movement, like stretching or light yoga, can help calm your nervous system and set a more peaceful tone for the day. Hydration is key, too. Drinking a big glass of water before you even reach for that coffee can make a big difference in how you feel.
And journaling.
Yes.
Or writing a positive affirmation can also be a great way to process your emotions and set a positive intention for the day.
It really can.
And if you can, spend even just a few minutes in silence or meditation.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have to be a formal practice.
Right.
Just a few moments to connect with your breath and be present in the quiet.
The key is to replace those habits that tend to trigger anxiety with activities that nourish your mind and body.
One of the sources mentioned Olivia. She used to start her day by what they call doom scrolling on social media.
Oh, yeah.
And she decided to swap that for deep breathing and gratitude journaling.
Good for her.
And she saw a remarkable decrease in her anxiety within weeks.
It's a testament to the power of habit change. Even small adjustments can make a big difference.
And it doesn't have to end there.
Yeah.
We can also practice micro self-care throughout the day.
Absolutely. That's about incorporating those little moments of self-care into our busy schedules.
Like taking a few deep breaths between meetings,
Right.
stepping outside for some fresh air during your lunch break, or listening to an uplifting song while you're cooking dinner.
Those small acts of self-care can really add up to make a big difference in how we manage stress and anxiety.
One of the stories that really resonated with me was Isabel, a nurse,
Okay.
who started practicing mindful breathing before attending to her patients. It helped her stay present, reduce her stress,
Right.
and ultimately provide, better care.
That's wonderful.
It's a reminder that taking care of ourselves allows us to better care for others.
Yeah.
And it also highlights the importance of integrating self-care practices throughout our day rather than just reserving them for special occasions. So we've covered a lot of ground already. We've talked about the unique ways women experience anxiety, the science behind stress. And we've explored some really practical strategies for managing it in a fast-paced world. But there's one more piece of the puzzle that I think is incredibly important, and that's the idea of reframing anxiety.
Yes. This is where we move beyond simply coping with anxiety to actually harnessing its power.
Because it's not just about silencing or suppressing those anxious feelings, but about understanding what they might be trying to tell us.
Exactly.
We just spent some time exploring, the reasons behind women's experiences with anxiety, some practical strategies to manage it. But now we want to shift gears a bit.
Okay.
I'm really fascinated by this concept of reframing anxiety. Instead of seeing it as something like purely negative, can we actually view it as a potential source of energy or motivation?
It might seem counterintuitive, but that's exactly what the research suggests.
Okay.
Instead of dreading anxiety, we can learn to see it as a signal,
Interesting.
a call to action that something important is at stake.
So rather than trying to suppress or ignore those anxious feelings, we should lean into them and try to understand what they're trying to tell us.
That's the idea. Anxiety often arises when we care deeply about something.
Mm-hmm.
It might be a sign that we need to make a change, take a risk, or step outside our comfort zone.
So it's not necessarily a sign that something is wrong, but rather a sign that something matters to us.
Precisely. Think of it this way. If you weren't anxious about an upcoming presentation,
Yeah.
it might indicate that you don't really care about the topic or the outcome.
Okay.
But that nervous energy you feel, that's your passion, your
Mhm.
commitment shining through.
That's a really interesting way to look at it. So instead of letting anxiety paralyze us, we can actually use that energy to propel us forward.
Exactly. The key is to reframe anxiety from a threat to a challenge,
Okay.
from a weakness to a strength.
The sources that you shared, they highlight a great example of this with Serena. She's a public speaker who used to be terrified of giving presentations.
Right.
And instead of viewing her anxiety as an enemy, she decided to just reinterpret those feelings as excitement,
Interesting.
a sign that she was passionate about sharing her message.
And that shift in perspective had a profound impact on her performance. Her anxiety, once a source of fear and self-doubt, became a source of energy and confidence.
It's like anxiety is this raw, untapped power
Yeah.
that we can either let consume us or channel into something positive.
That's a great analogy. It's all about how we choose to interpret and respond to those feelings.
Okay, so we've talked about the science, the strategies, and even how to reframe anxiety. But I think it's also incredibly inspiring to hear about how real women are successfully navigating these challenges in their everyday lives.
Absolutely. The stories you've gathered are a testament to the resilience and adaptability of women facing anxiety in a fast-paced world.
Like Naomi, who struggled with social anxiety
Okay.
and was terrified of networking events and meeting new people. Instead of letting her fear control her, she decided to take small, manageable steps,
Right.
outside of our comfort zone. She started by attending smaller gatherings
Okay.
and practicing open-ended questions to spark conversations.
That's a great approach.
And over time, those small steps led to a significant increase in her confidence.
It's a great reminder that we don't have to conquer our fears overnight. Progress is about taking those small, consistent steps in the right direction.
Another inspiring story is Frances, who was experiencing severe career burnout. Her anxiety had become so overwhelming that she knew something had to change.
Yeah.
She made the courageous decision to leave her high-stress corporate job and transition to freelance work.
That's a huge leap of faith.
But it sounds like it was the right decision for her.
It was. It gave her the flexibility to design a schedule that better aligned with her needs and values.
Mhm.
And it allowed her to really prioritize her mental and emotional well-being.
It's such a powerful reminder that sometimes making a big change, even if it feels scary, can be the best thing for our mental health.
Absolutely. It's about having the courage to listen to our inner voice and make choices that support our overall well-being.
And then there's Vanessa, a stay-at-home mom who was feeling overwhelmed and anxious
Yeah.
due to the lack of me time.
It's so common.
And she realized that even amidst the demands of motherhood, she needed to carve out space for herself, even if it was just for a few minutes each day. So she started waking up 30 minutes earlier each morning to enjoy a quiet cup of coffee before the chaos of the day began.
And that small act of self-care made a world of difference in her ability to cope with the challenges of motherhood.
It's so inspiring to hear these stories.
It is, isn't it?
They show that no matter what challenges we're facing, there are ways to navigate them, to find a sense of peace and balance, even in the midst of a fast-paced world.
These women are proof that anxiety doesn't have to control our lives. We have the power to choose how we respond, to reclaim our power, and to create lives that are both fulfilling and meaningful.
And it's not about achieving some kind of perfect state of Zen-like calm.
Right.
It's about recognizing that anxiety is a normal part of the human experience. And it's about developing the tools and mindset to navigate those feelings in a way that that empowers us rather than diminishes us.
Exactly. It's about finding what works for you,
Yeah.
experimenting with different strategies, and remembering that you're not alone on this journey.
And speaking of not being alone, we'd love to hear from you. What are some of the things that trigger anxiety for you? What strategies have you found helpful in managing those feelings?
Share your thoughts in the comments below.
Yes.
Let's create a supportive community where we can learn from each other, encourage each other, and empower each other to thrive.
Because knowledge is power. And when we share what we know, we help each other rise.
And if you're enjoying this deep dive, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this episode with anyone who might benefit from these insights.
Because we believe that everyone deserves to feel good,
Yes.
to feel balanced,
Absolutely.
and to live a life that's full of joy and purpose. You know, we've covered so much ground in this deep dive.
Yeah.
It's been fascinating to explore the unique ways women experience anxiety and the science behind those feelings.
Right.
But what's really struck me is that managing anxiety isn't just about coping or mitigating the negative. It's about harnessing that energy and transforming it into a force for positive change.
Absolutely. That's such a crucial point. We often get so caught up in this cycle of trying to eliminate anxiety completely. But what if we shifted our perspective
Yeah.
and saw it as a catalyst for growth?
I love that. So instead of viewing anxiety as a roadblock,
Yeah.
it can actually become like a signpost pointing us towards what truly matters to us.
Exactly. When we feel anxious, it's often a signal that something is important to us.
Okay.
It might be a sign that we need to set boundaries, make a change, or step outside of our comfort zones.
It's like anxiety is trying to get our attention,
Yeah.
trying to like nudge us in a direction that aligns with our values and aspirations.
Think of it as an inner compass,
Hmm.
guiding us towards a more authentic and fulfilling life.
So how can we practically apply this idea of reframing anxiety? How can we shift from feeling like overwhelmed and paralyzed to feeling empowered and motivated?
One powerful technique is to ask yourself this question: what is this anxiety trying to tell me?
That's a great starting point.
Mm.
Instead of judging those anxious feelings, we can get curious about them and try to understand the message behind them.
Yeah.
Maybe your anxiety is signaling that you're in a job that no longer aligns with your values, or that you're neglecting a passion that's important to you. Or maybe it's a sign that you need to set some healthy boundaries in your relationships or prioritize your own well-being.
Exactly. The key is to listen to that inner voice and trust that your anxiety is trying to guide you towards a better path.
So we're not talking about like ignoring red flag,
Mhm.
pushing ourselves into situations that are genuinely harmful, but we are talking about recognizing that anxiety can be a powerful motivator for positive change.
It's about reclaiming our power and using that energy to create a life that feels more aligned and fulfilling.
We've talked about so many incredible strategies in this deep dive, from the 3-minute pause to digital detoxing to sensory resets, and now this powerful concept of reframing anxiety. I feel like we've been given a whole toolbox of resources to navigate the challenges of modern life.
And remember, even small changes can make a big difference.
Right.
Start with one strategy that resonates with you
Okay.
and experiment to see what works best for you.
Exactly. There's no one size fits all approach. It's about finding what feels empowering and sustainable for you.
And as you start to implement these strategies, pay attention to how your anxiety shifts and evolves. You might be surprised by the insights and growth that emerge.
It's been such an inspiring conversation, and I hope our listeners are feeling empowered to not just manage their anxiety, but to actually transform it into a source of strength and motivation.
We believe that every woman has the power to live a life that's full of joy, purpose, and resilience, and we're here to support you every step of the way.
And speaking of support, we'd love to hear from you. What are some of your biggest anxiety challenges?
Yeah, what strategies are you excited to try?
Share your thoughts in the comments below. Let's create a community where we can learn from each other, support each other, and empower each other to thrive.
Remember, you are not alone in this journey. We are all in this together.
And if you found this deep dive helpful, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with anyone who might benefit from these insights.
We appreciate you listening.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into into managing anxiety in a fast-paced world for women. We're so grateful to have you here, and we can't wait to connect with you again soon.
Until then, take care of yourselves and keep thriving.